And I do believe that with all my heart. That's why I'm here, Sister Jean. I just want to say that I'm thankful that the Lord has blessed us to be here. And we've got some visitors, first-time visitors here. We're glad you're here, and we hope you come back. But we get along the way we get along, and I'm Sister Jean. She'll be the first to tell you I'm a cut up, and I am. I'm a big cut up. She accused them of doing surgery on me and taking out my serious bone, and I don't know. Maybe they did. But you know what? Brother Willie mentioned it, before we got started, that we like to laugh and have a good time, and I do. We've had this stereotype about us that we should go around with a big frown on our face and just not be happy, and that's not me. I have to just be me. And Brother Knack, I have to call you that now, Brother Knack. Let me tell you, I'm a happy person. I find that whenever I get myself fixated on the things of the world, I called Brother Willie. I told him, I said, you better have some help here tonight, because with me, because I get involved in stuff at work, and I get things like that on my mind, and boy, it just brings me down. I'm not in a very cheery mood when I'm doing those type things, and then when I get around God's people, and you know what, it's like flipping a switch, and I like it when it's like this. I wish it was like this all the time. So I start thinking about heaven. Boy, how's it going to be? You know what? I'm going to be just one happy fellow over there, Sister Jean. I'm going to be just happy, and I think anybody that goes is just going to be happy. And so with that, this is serious, and even though we cut up and we have a good time, this is serious business. We're on business for the King. Amen. And so I don't want to make it sound like we have to flip a switch. I am who I am by the grace of God. But I will say this, I want people to understand that when I get in this place, when I start talking about the Lord, listen, there ain't nothing else. And I am so happy and I feel so good, Brother Eugene, to talk about Him. I want to tell people about the goodness of the Lord. What He done for me, what He's done for you. I don't care. Even if, if you are not a born-again Christian, if you are somebody who even says, well, I don't believe, I want you to realize this: God has still done a lot for you. That's right. He has made a way for you so that you could go to heaven, so that you could have forgiveness, so that you could have something that you don't deserve. And so, with that, there's a saying that I always say, and I believe Brother Willie's heard me say it. Brother Willie says it. I know my family, my girls, they'll say it now before I even say it. And it doesn't matter what happens, it just kind of show you how my mind works. There's something that I always say whenever something happens. I'm always looking for it. I'll say, there's a sermon in that. And me and Brother Willie will say it someday. It doesn't matter what has happened. If there's something happened to us or something said, we'll look at one another or something. I'll say, no, there's a sermon in that. And we may not know what it is at the time, but there is. I'm always looking for analogies I can use and things. And a few weeks ago, Sister Barb, my family and I, my wife and my daughter, and boy, she took her boyfriend. All right, clear my no. But we did. We went to a concert. It was a Christian concert, and it was outside. Never been to one where it's like at a drive-in or something. It was something different for me. And of course, I'm not up on the latest music or anything, but apparently this was a big Christian concert, and if I could remember, one of them was a Jason Williams, I think. Apparently he's a pretty big deal. He was the main head. I think that's his name. He's a Williams. I know that. I think. But anyway. We went, and I'd heard a lot of the music because my wife, she listens to K-Love a lot, and if you don't know that, I'll plug them. That's a Christian radio station, and so I'd heard a lot of the songs, and it was good. But while I was there, I seen this big long line down there, and of course that's where you go and you spend all your money to buy a T-shirt and stuff like that. And so I again, me not knowing anything, I'm going to do something nice. I'm going to go down and I'm going to buy my wife a T-shirt. So I go down and I get in the line, and I'm standing there, and 15 minutes passes, and I don't know how much. It just kept, time just kept going and kept going. And finally, because I wasn't getting anything for myself, I was going to get her and my daughter and I guess her boyfriend and getting them all something there, and so here I am. I'm standing in line, and finally it comes to the point I've been here long enough. This line just ain't moving fast enough, and so I decided, Brother Willie, that I was just going to give it up, and I was going to go back and say, look, I just couldn't do it. And I looked back, and I seen the line behind me. And I realized I've moved pretty good. Or either it's grown, somewhere, if I get out of line now, boy, I got to get way back there. And I got to thinking, I've heard that a lot, people saying, it's good to remember where you came from. And I'm not saying that it is or it's not. No, I remember a lot of things back, but a Bible verse came to my mind. And several actually did. And this was something, even though I think it was a good thing, it was something that I enjoyed, and this and that. But you know what? I think too many times we look back. You see, I stayed in that line, for one, because I'd looked back and I'd seen how long I had stood, and I had just had too much invested in it by now. I wasn't going to quit. But that's really the wrong reason. That's the wrong reason to really stay in anything, isn't it? I don't want to just stay in church because I've been here so long. I don't want to keep living my life a certain way just because that's what I've done for so long. I don't want to be this or to try to do better just because of where I came from. You see, and I'm using this because this is what came to my mind there. I didn't really care if I got what was at the end of this line or not. That's why I was willing to give it up. But friends, listen, I want you to realize that I don't look behind me. Yes, I do sometimes remember where I came from. I remember some of the things I did. And it's put in my mind, I want to forget about it. I'm so thankful that God has forgot about it, that He's taken all those things that I used to do and say, and He's tossed them behind His back. He's tossed them as far as the east is from the west. I'm thankful that He doesn't remember. Unfortunately, I do. And I'm not talking about, the Bible teaches there was actually a time when they crossed over Jordan, Brother Eugene, they built up stones. They took stones and piled them up, and it was for a memorial, I guess, to remember where they crossed over and what had happened to them. So I'm not doubting those things, but what I want to get up on your mind here, friends, is that what is in front of you needs to be important. That what needs to keep you going. Your love for Christ, friends, needs to be the most important thing in your life. That's why I keep going. That's why I keep looking forward. And if you go to Philippians chapter 3, starting in verse 13, he says, "Brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind me." This was a man who was, earlier he talked about how he listed his accomplishments, if I could say it that way. He was saying, I'm of this. He was a Pharisee of the Pharisees. He was a Hebrew of the Hebrews. He was from the tribe of Benjamin. And a lot of people miss out on some of that, Brother Willie. What he was saying was that according to the flesh, I'm worthy. In other words, I'm better than what most of you are, according to the flesh. Now he goes on, don't get me wrong, the Apostle Paul was saying that counts for nothing. That's absolutely nothing. But if you want to brag, I can out-brag you, in other words. You see, he was even saying, I'm from the tribe of Benjamin. You see, and a lot of people say, well, so what? Well, I believe it was Benjamin and Judah. I believe those were the ones that they were the two tribes that kind of kept with the genealogies. They didn't go after and start intermingling with other nationalities or anything. So that meant something to them. And so you see, he was telling them that when they went into captivity, he was saying, I'm a Hebrew of the Hebrews. He wasn't just saying that I'm a Jewish person. No, he was not just saying that I'm a very good Jewish person. You see, back in those days when they became captive and they went into slavery, Sister Jean, what would happen is that they would start taking over the other culture. And pretty soon, you ever seen like somebody from another country maybe has come to this country, and after a few generations, maybe somebody from China or even Mexico or something like that, and then here they don't even speak that language. They're American now, and they speak American language. You see, that's what was happening to the Jewish people. But he was saying, I'm of the Hebrew. In other words, I took the time to teach my children or to teach my family, taught me the original language. See, he was showing, look, if you want to brag a little bit, I can brag. But he later on says, no, that means nothing. You either have the Spirit of God or you're none of His. All these other things don't mean anything. And so here he's telling us to forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto those things which are before. I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Jesus Christ. In other words, you see, it wasn't how far he's come. It's not all the things that he's been through. Friends, this was a man who was called up into the third heaven. He got to see what was waiting on him, and that's what he kept his eyes on. As he was marching through life and he was having troubles, he was down in the dumps, however you want to say it, when they were rocking him, when they were beating him up, leaving him for dead, when they was throwing him in prison, Brother Eugene, all these things. That's why he was able to sing those hymns when him and Silas were locked up in the innermost part of the jail. Friends, that's why he counted it, along with the other apostles. They would count it as a great thing whenever they would suffer for Christ. Why is that? Because they had their eyes focused on Jesus, on what was laying ahead of them, which is heaven, which is being with Jesus all the time. In other words, we get to fellowship all the time. We get to be on cloud nine, if I can say it that way, all the time. This is not it's going to be good one day. It's a great day today. Oh, well, I didn't have such a good day. It's not like that over there. It's all wonderful. It's beyond my comprehension of what lies ahead of us. We have something to rejoice about. We have something to look forward to. That's why whenever death comes, natural death, when it comes our way, friends, it's a happy time if you die in the Lord. If you die in the Lord, He's going to take you across. I heard this preach, it might have been the other day, I don't know, but they was talking about whenever someone comes to die, that's not the hard part or the scary part. And I agree with that. It's not. Because Jesus takes you on a cross. Now getting to the bank's edge, now that gets a little, in the flesh, we get a little worried there. We get a little scared. We get a little something, We've never been there. But that's why we must never, the Bible teaches us that we're not to be one of those that puts our hands to the plow and looks back. We keep marching forward. We keep our eyes focused on what God has prepared for us. And if you, and I say this a lot, Sister Jean, I preach to myself more than I do anybody else. I find it that way. And Brother Tinsley, I have to, whenever the Lord gives me something or He gives me a sermon, there's a sermon in this or there's a sermon in that, hey listen, I look deep down in myself and I see, yeah, that sermon's meant for me. And so I want you to know that's what I get from this. What the Lord teaches me in this is that, I understand where I came from. But I tell this to everybody and I tell it to the people out there. I don't care what you did yesterday. You know what? Some people, they may look and say, I remember back 50 years ago what you done. It wouldn't be us, brother. We're not, but some of these may remember back 50 years ago. But you know what? They may say, I remember what you said. I remember what you've done. You did. Hey, listen, I don't care what you done yesterday. I don't care what you did before this church service started. You can't change it. You might as well get rid of it. Put your eyes focused upon Christ. I'm not proud of some of the things I've did along, and the devil tries to remind me of all those things. And I heard a saying one time, the devil reminds me of my past, and I remind him of his future. I want you to realize, friends, if you have Jesus Christ, if you've been born again, if you've got the Spirit of the Lord dwelling in you, hey, listen, friends, I don't want Him just dwelling. I want the cup overflowing. Why is that? Because when the Spirit bubbles up, and whenever I can feel Him, and whenever He makes me that bold soldier for Christ, listen, friends, I want you to know there's no other feeling like it. And I look forward to the day that I get to go, and I never have to let it go. I never have to get down in the valley. I want to leave you with this. And I want you to really, really understand. We need to let go of the flesh. It's hard. And I don't always do it, Sister Jean. I don't. I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be. I'm forgiven. The man that's inside of me is perfect. The sacrifice that was done for me was perfect. The blood that's been applied for me is perfect. The grace that has been given me is sufficient for me. And so I look forward to being with Him, to be able to no longer walk by faith, but to walk by sight, to be able to see Him. And He'll be the light of that city. And this is what I want to leave you with, is that we hear, you know what? It doesn't matter how somebody lives their life or what they stand for or whatever it seems like whenever they die. It seems like we just, they're in heaven now. Listen, you need to realize this. And this is why I say we need to keep our eyes focused upon Christ instead of something that's behind us. Or to the side of us where somebody else is doing something and you have justified yourself to be a little better. If you're not living for Jesus, if you're not focused on Jesus here, if you don't love Jesus, like I said, when I was in that line, it was my love for my family, my love for my wife that kept me there. What I focus on is Jesus. That's the love I have for Him. And if you don't have a love for Jesus, God loves you too much to put you in an eternity place where Jesus will be everywhere. You need to realize, don't just try to be good enough to get into heaven. Don't just try to be better than somebody to get into heaven. Don't try to, if you need to have a love for Jesus Christ, because that's where heaven is. Jesus will be the light of that city. We'll be able to focus upon Him. There'll be no dangers. There'll be walls hedged around us to where we won't have to worry about that wolf. We won't have to worry about that old serpent. We'll be in the arms of Christ. I want you to have a love for Jesus. If you have a love for Jesus, I want you to know He'll born you again and make you a new creature, and you'll have love for everybody. Because you'll be born of love. And you'll be happy. Now, we take our eyes off of what we're going to, Brother Knack. We take our eyes off that, we get it focused up on the things of the world, just like Peter. We start to suffer. We start to sink. And we all may do it from time to time. I don't know. I don't know your case. I just know mine. When I put it on the things of the world, I start to sink. Praise be to God, Jesus is right there. I call out for Him. He's never too far away, Sister Barb. He picks me up. He sets me up not just on a liquid foundation, but on a solid foundation where there is no sinking, where the winds and storms can't knock me off. So today, I want you to get in touch with Jesus Christ. I want you to follow after Him. I want you to trust Him. I want you to have a love for Him. And if you will just look at what He has done for you. Now, the Bible teaches me I love Him because He first loved me. And you know, well, maybe people are different. It's hard for me to hate somebody that loves me. It just is. I can't hate anybody anyway. But He loved me first when I was unlovable. And He stuck with me. And He gave me opportunities. He called me. And when I surrendered to Him, He gave me a new life. Gave me a new name. He enrolled it in the Lamb's Book of Life. And friends, listen. He's going to call that name one day, and I'm going to answer to it. I'm going to get up of wherever I'm at, doesn't matter, and I'm going to go be with Him forever and ever. Heaven is worth striving for.